All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Carver Redevelopment Authority meeting for Tuesday, August 1st, 2023. Based on our agenda, the first item on our agenda is reorganization of the board. We are shy one member tonight who might be on his way, Roger. So what I want to do is I want to move that item of the agenda to the end and see if we do it. And we also don't have Mr. Bott here this evening, and he doesn't seem to be in the office. And because we need to have somebody take the
initially.
We need to take someone be the person who takes over as acting chair while we nominate and vote.
Right.
So we may not even get to that.
We might have to move that to another meeting, right?
Yeah,
We may have to.
that won't be a big deal.
No, it shouldn't be. Next up on the agenda is a new member search. Evidently, there was a window of time, according to Mr. Bott, of 30 days after the resignation of our former chair, Ms. Clark, who's here this evening, that we had to contact the select board to arrange a joint selection committee. And I found this out after 50 days. So we missed that window.
Well, when I read all that to you guys the other day, and I had printed that out the last meeting, it said we had 90 days. Remember, I said we had 90 days. And we have to have a joint meeting, you're absolutely correct, and there has to be two people that come up and say they're interested, not one, but two.
I went
more.
back into the bylaws, and that only is in effect if you have on the Redevelopment Authority, a member who represents a tenants organization, a renters or tenants organization.
No, that's weird, because I just.
Do you have it?
I don't have it with me. If it's at home,
'Cause I went
dig it
back.
up and send it.
I
Because it
scoured it.
really applies, the redevelopment authority applies to both people who are tenants in a building as well as an individual group such as us.
Right, but in locations where there is a mandate that a tenant representative be on the Redevelopment Authority, if that person leaves, then that opening has to be available or has to have two people apply for it.
Okay, I'll go back and read it again, and
All
I
right.
printed it out, and we'll make sure, because when I read it, I said, oh, wow, 90 days, okay. Which made sense, and it was very strict on two or more, not one. And it did say a joint meeting with the select board. So we agree in everything except for that tenant thing.
All right, so here's what Tom sent back to me. Assuming that the RDA notified the select board within 1 month of the vacancy, it looks to me as though it's a joint appointment after 1 week's notice until the next annual election. I did not, and I don't think anybody else
No.
notified the select board because I didn't know that was protocol.
No,
And I don't know who would have told me that.
Nope. That wasn't our discussion.
No. Absent the month's notice, it is just the select board voting. I pasted below parts of the two sections of the MGL. And it says vacancies other than by reason of expiration of term shall be filled for the balance of the unexpired term in the same manner and by the same body, except elected members in towns whose town shall be filled in accordance with the provisions of section 11 of chapter 41. Every member, unless sooner removed, shall serve until the qualification of his successor. But in the case of Ms. Clark, because of the residency, she was removed, so therefore cannot serve until the qualification of her successor.
That's right.
Then the next one is chapter 41, section 11. If there is a vacancy in a board consisting of two or more members, the remaining members shall give written notice thereof within 1 month of said vacancy, which we did not. To the selectmen who, with the remaining member or members of such board, shall after 1 week's notice fill such vacancy by roll call vote. The selectmen shall fill such vacancy if such board fails to give said notice within the time specified.
Tell me again what that section was.
Chapter 41, Section 11, Mass General Law.
Section, what is it again, please?
4111.
Section 11, okay.
Yeah. The person so appointed or elected shall be a registered voter of the town and shall perform the duties of the office until the next annual meeting. So,
The duties of the officer? Is that what you just said?
duties of the office.
Oh, office, excuse me. Geez, I have my hearing aids on too. Okay. Go.
So, anyway, it looks like that Sharon's replacement is in the hands of the select board because of the fact that we didn't know what protocol was and didn't follow through with it and weren't notified that we had to do that.
Well, I'm gonna go right back and research that, you know.
All right. So anyway, I think at this point it's incumbent upon me or the board to write something up to send to the select board saying asking them to look for a particular.
Yes, you, at our last meeting, had a meaning of what you wanted to have for experience, and Pat Maha interacted with you and said, I remember I read it someplace, yeah, which, you defined that you wanted somebody with some particular experience, not,
Right.
And I go along with that, and I'm sure Knobloch Roger would also.
Right, but I think I'm probably going to have to meet with Bob Fennessy and just say, what do I do here? How do we
Okay.
get the select board to?
Well, the only thing I said, I think you gotta use the word, it would be preferred. I don't think you can mandate that someone
Right.
does.
Right, no, you're
Especially
right,
for an-
preferred, yeah.
an elected position, I mean, even, so what, even the president of the United States doesn't have to have any qualifications. They just
Right.
gotta get more votes than anybody else, so.
Right.
And that would be the issue. The preference would be that there are experience in A, B, and C.
Right.
You can't say that there
Right.
must be.
Right, but
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is, how do we get that notice to the select board that this is what we're looking for? And I'll talk to Bob
Yeah,
about that.
That would be the thing to do.
All right, so,
Or Mark Townsend, either one.
or Matt, or Mark. The next up on our agenda is the utilization of a consultant.
Oh, good, I'm glad that's on there.
I figured you would be.
Yes, thank you very much. I am looking to do that, and the rationale behind that is there's a lot of loose ends that still need to be done. And I spoke with Kathleen O'Donnell, and I asked her if we could have a consultant, because Boston, as I read, has a lot of consultants on the redevelopment with eyes and ears on their projects. And we don't continue to have the project, but we might have the project back or whomever. And I think, in addition to that, we had some loose ends, like I said, Wade Street and the Shirtless family. By the way, Kathleen said she sent out all of those documents to that family. I forgot how many there were. She got back 3 or 4 phone calls with some questions on how to do all these documents. She was very strict to tell them, and I think this is important, we need to know this.
I'm listening, I'm
They
trying to find
all
something.
have to be, every one of the family heirs. So one heir is gonna fill out the paperwork, and it's my understanding, they're all getting an equal share of whatever, 3,000 or whatever it was. But each person individually, as they fill out that paperwork, has to have a signature from every one of those heirs agreeing to the fact that that person is going to be collecting X dollars. She said that is important. She also said, if they do nothing and just drag their feet and 3 years goes by, it's ours. We can call it done. So that's a loose end. We really need to get that resolved. So I am very interested, and I'm going to look straight in that camera right there. If you're interested, now it hasn't been voted, it hasn't been approved by my committee, But in all fairness, if you are out there and you'd like to be a consultant, you need to send us, what's the 102 Main Street? What is it? What's the address?
Is it up there?
Oh, 108 Main
108.
Street in Carver, and tell us who you are, what your background is, and why you want to be, work with us as a consultant, and of course, how much money you would like to have.
All right, well,
I just want to make sure, because I just want to make it public.
right. I'm looking for something. I didn't write it down, which section it was in. I will find it. It's regarding consultants. I'm not finding it right away. But it does say in Mass General Law that we are, as a redevelopment authority, are allowed to hire consultants
Okay.
on a project basis. And one of the areas of expertise that was listed in Mass General Law as being available to hire a consultant was real estate. So, as Ms. Clark, as we know, Ms. Clark had a career in real estate related.
Well, I'm going to broaden that. Ms. Clark has a career of 30 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And when you have a project such as ours, those zoning and all that information is so important. The other thing too is, planning board meets, we can't be there. You
Right.
know, we can't be there.
Right.
And also talking to George or whatever his partner is,
Bob.
making sure they stay on top of different things or looking up changes on the planning board that we're not there to see. You know what I'm saying? Eyes and ears, that's what we need. It's an important project. Ms. Clark, Mrs. Clark,
I just have a question. Do you have a job description yet?
No,
not yet.
no, this is our first discussion as a group, so we haven't put any kind of a scope or,
Will you be putting together some kind of a job description? Because that touches on a lot of different things. If you're the liaison to the owners of Route 44, or if you want to be the liaison to the planning board. Those are kind of all very different tasks.
right. I think,
Well, it all encompassing our quote-unquote project.
And that's fine.
right, we need to, I'm glad you said quote unquote, because we don't have a project.
That's right.
It is not a project, it is a urban renewal plan. And there have been put forth some proposals of what to do there, but there is no such thing as a project.
Right.
So I think that the language has to specify that it's, that the scope of what we can use a consultant for, it doesn't really state how vast or how minute.
Just says you.
It just says
Just
you
a
can use
general,
one. So if we as a RDA figure that we would like to have a consultant to guide us through the urban renewal plan,
Right.
then that encompasses everything
And that-
involved with
And
that.
that's pretty broad.
It's very broad, and I think that would pass muster. So I think that's probably what we have to do in putting together the scope of work and the RFP, I guess, for a consultant.
Okay.
So,
So if you were, can I ask another question?
yes, you may.
If, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem?
Yes, Chairman Pro Tem.
If someone was interested, should there be a posting that we should watch for?
No, she didn't tell me I had to do a posting. Kathleen was very open. She said, just talk right into the camera. And amazing that you're here, because I talked to her about that. And she said, well, just straight out ask her if she's interested. But also talk into that camera and tell everybody if they're interested. You know, you have to make it as public as you can, which we're doing,
I, yes, I don't think we have to, ask for other people to submit it if they're, submit a proposal if they would like to do this. What was our, I have to ask you a question because you were involved in this. What was our process when we hired Stephen Cole?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We just chose him as our consultant.
Yeah, he submitted a resume.
He did?
Yeah.
Did we have more than one?
No.
We asked him, he submitted a resume, and we said yes.
And we said
Okay.
yes.
So that's,
We could do the same thing.
precedent has been set.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
So
I
are we
move.
getting Illwood money?
Can I make a motion? Too
you
early?
get George money.
Can I make a motion or just a?
I suppose so. What is let's talk about what your motion is going to be before you make it.
Okay, well, can I point right to Sharon and ask her if she's interested? And if she says
Yes.
yes, because of her background and the fact that she is interested, and she would like to do that,
I
and,
would be interested just because leaving so abruptly, having just been reelected, I was just named chairman again. I left a lot of loose ends and I'd like to help clean those up.
All right.
so based on that and all the knowledge and understanding she has and worked with you so closely when we were with the urban renewal with Hillwood.
And Route 44.
Yeah, and I'm convinced when the economy comes near back, I think in my heart, I want Hillwood back. I want him back, or them back, actually.
I mean, Wade Street has loose ends and.
That's
Right.
right.
The
And
Montello
the
Street,
shirtlift,
affairs and
shirtlift
loose ends,
people.
So those were all things that we were all involved in.
That's right. So all that needs
I'll be
to,
happy to submit a letter and resume.
So that would probably be your motion, to request that Ms. Clark submit a resume to fill the role of consultant on various issues that are before the Redevelopment Authority.
so moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to ask Ms. Sharon Clark, former chair of the RDA, to submit a resume for the purpose of becoming the consultant for the Redevelopment Authority, primarily on the urban renewal plan for the North Carver site.
Right.
But also on a number of other smaller items that she was involved in her prior role here that are still open-ended. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it is approved 3-0.
Okay.
All right. Next up is the Route 44 update. I spoke last week with Bob Delhomme, who is one of the two principals in Route 44. I wish Mr. Bott were here. I don't know what the status is on the preliminary subdivision plan that they presented to the planning board. By law, the law states that any preliminary subdivision that is presented to a planning board in a correct fashion shall be approved. So that means that they have no other choice but approving it. That's the preliminary plan.
Okay, I listened to June, I think
Yeah.
it was. They had issues. One of the persons, the male part guy, whatever his name, I can't remember. Anyway, he came with this preliminary change, and he wants to take the road, Park Avenue Road, he wants that, it shows it's taking it right out of there, and he wants to have it retitled, because it, obviously, that defined road could mess up that 300 some odd acres left over, right? Because that would almost define a subdivision, so they're taking that out. They're wiping it out. Well, the chairperson, what the hell, what's his name? The chairperson, Shea, Mr. Shea, talked about wanting the Carver where's the redevelopment authority? We need to talk to the redevelopment authority with a plan. And we have to talk about, they should be going back to DHCD with what was going on in the urban renewal plan, and they voted, they didn't want to accept it, they wouldn't vote on it. And they said that they were going back to town council, I wish Mr. Bott was here. They're going back to town council, and they're gonna ask all those questions that they needed. Now, that's the last thing.
That's the last I kind of knew about it as well, but from what I understand, the Route 44 did present the preliminary subdivision plan in a timely manner, in a legal manner, and the planning board has no other choice but to accept it.
Well, they're throwing these little,
I know what they're doing, but they keep
Diversions.
referring to a project that's not happening anymore. And that's why we have to be very careful with our verbiage in talking about anything with Route 44, because there was never a project, there was only a proposal. It got pretty far, but
Yeah,
a
sure
project happens when the first shovel goes in the ground and they start work. There was never a project, there was a proposal
well,
that
that
Hillwood
ties
made.
back with Maggie Smith talking about, with her letter, whether it was major or minor, and then she kind of had told us that she recommended going back to our lawyer. Oh, by the way, Kathleen, when I spoke with her, she said, could we send her the urban renewal plan? Now, I know that the upstairs in the select board, I'll go up there myself.
Isn't it on the website?
I don't think so. You think it is?
I think it is.
I don't know.
The urban renewal plan should be there.
The one that we was jointly presented to the select board and our RDA, and that was back in 2019 or something. Shelby sent me a letter saying that she has the sign off that the select board and the RDA jointly voted. But at that point in time, I didn't ask her for the plan, but now I'm gonna go back upstairs and ask her for the plan, because it was presented, it actually was presented.
Okay. I think where the confusion is on the part of the planning board is that they're looking for the preliminary subdivision plan to be a definitive subdivision plan.
Yeah.
And those are two different things. Once the preliminary subdivision plan is presented, and it was back in April or May to the planning board, the applicant has 8 months from that first date of applying for the preliminary, or not even applying, because the planning board can't say no, based on the law. They shall approve it. From that day that they first present to the planning board, they have 8 months to come up with a definitive subdivision
So
plan.
did in the word shall, and it was after town meeting when they did that, I remember Tom Bott telling us, did they actually, is there minutes showing that they did approve that? Because they came and they changed it.
No, there are not minutes that they did approve it, but the law says they don't have a choice.
Okay.
So the law says you have to approve it. There's no gray area. You have to approve it. And they said, no, we don't.
So now, the last conversation you and I, we are just having here, with me telling you that I watched the planning board,
Right.
is they're pushing back, they're talking to town council, and they want to know what's going on and what's right and what's wrong, and they also mentioned the redevelopment. And they
That's
don't care
correct,
too much
but-
about, they don't care too much about Delholm and George.
Our involvement in anything with the planning board really should not happen until we are at a point where they have a definitive subdivision plan. Because a preliminary, all that's doing is talking about where a road's going and where the infrastructure's going,
Okay.
such as sewer, et cetera.
All right,
That's
so.
all it is.
All right, let me open up that in speaking with Kathleen, she said that, we went back and forth with just what you're saying, what's going back and forth. And so she said, what we need to do, talk to Tom Bott, find out if town council has given up to them whatever they need to know. And if that's settled, right, that's when we need to go back to George or his first name, Bob Delholm, and ask them to come in, because the subdivision, like you said, was already accepted, they would have to accept that shall, the word shall. Before this preliminary or the definitive plan, because they got 8 months, before that gets written, have them come in to us and tell us what they plan on doing in the definitive plan. And we have to talk about it, whether we agree or not. I mean, if we don't agree, then we tell them we don't agree. And if we do agree, they need to, in that letter, in the definitive plan, they need to include a letter from talked about the redevelopment that we agree with what they're proposing in this definitive plan. So it's imperative that we don't drag our feet, that we have something like Sharon on top of it.
All right, so anyway, and that's great. Everything that you said is perfect, and it rolls right back into where I started this part of the discussion on this point in the agenda.
Yep.
Is that I spoke to Bob Delhomme 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And he wants to come to our next meeting
okay,
with their definitive subdivision plan
good,
to tell us what it is they want to do.
all right.
Because they have until November to present it to planning. But he wants to come in. He thought of maybe coming in tonight. I told him, he said, it's probably not going to be ready yet, but I can tell you where we're going to go. And my answer to him was, I thought personally that would bring up more questions than he or us were able to answer.
Yeah, true.
And I said, let's put it off until you know more.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get something down where you know what you're going to do, so you can come to us and answer any questions we have. And then moving forward, it'll be clear that we've been on board from that point on.
Oh, the other thing she did say, if we find out that we disagree with them, and I'm gonna go broad on this, they're putting up residential and it's not allowed, that now, she said, you have to take that right back to Maggie Smith, on the DHCD side. Something that we don't agree, I just was very drastic when I'm
Right.
talking about it.
Right.
So-
Bob said casually to me in our phone call that their plan moving forward does not vary greatly from what their plan has been all along, which is distribution warehouses. He said, basically with Hillwood, it was 2 buildings, 1.2 million feet, the other 600,000. He said it could be 6 buildings, each 300,000 feet, which equals the same amount of 1.8 million square feet.
Right.
He said, but the plan basically that they're going to present going forward, the definitive plan is basically the same as far as the usage is concerned.
Okay,
But he doesn't have it ready yet, but he will by our next meeting.
okay.
So we have to, when we get to the point of when we have our next meeting, the date, we have to be cognizant of the fact that they have a November date. So we can't go till the middle of September for our next meeting,
No.
leaving them only 6 weeks, especially if there's something that we disagree with.
Did he tell you that town council interacted with planning and?
He didn't say
They-
a word about that. That's not his purview.
Oh, okay.
Bob's? No, he wouldn't know that.
Well, George is always there because they always talk to him.
Right. Right.
So when they come in, should we have Kathleen O'Donnell there?
Yes, yes.
We
most
probably
definitely.
should.
Yeah.
And before
probably
they come in, I'm gonna send her the urban renewal plan.
Okay.
Right. So yes, I think that's a good idea. And once we figure out what the date is, you can contact Kathleen and
I
ask
will.
her to come in.
She apologized, first of all, Wednesday, tomorrow, she's having cataract surgery on the other eye. She also has a car, I don't know how fancy it is, but she was taking her sister to the airport in the tunnel, and the tire burnt and blew up. And so it's taken a long time for the pot to come in, or pots to come in, so I don't know what she's driving, but, so she had no car, no transportation.
Okay.
Interesting enough.
I'm sure she was very
I don't
popular
wanna-
in the only tunnel working.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. But she
long
did
time.
ask me if we had Zoom, and I said, no, I don't think so, I don't even know if the town, when I go upstairs to the select board, I'm gonna ask them if they have a membership, because
They do.
we always use Area 58 when we had our Zoom meetings. We should have our own, so we could set up, and I don't know if we have to buy a membership. She has a membership, but it's private.
Town has one.
The town has one,
But
whether,
we're quasi.
we're quasi, we might not,
quasi,
we
we
may not be
get our
able
own.
to use that.
So,
Can she participate with the phone instead of Zoom?
oh, no, she wanted to do the Zoom, yeah, but she personally has one, but in her business, and she
Well, I
can't,
think
she
if-
can't interact her business Zoom with us in
If Bob's
public.
gonna be here at our next meeting with a plan,
Okay.
which could be, huge.
It would be good to be Zoom.
No, she should be here
No,
in
no,
person.
not just her, but I mean publicly, so they can see something, because, right? They can't see, how long does it take for you to get that?
The
2 or 3 days,
goal is within 48 hours,
yeah.
is our
Okay.
policy, is we try to get the video.
Oh, okay.
within
Okay.
48
We
hours.
don't really want too many people calling in, because that'd make it too long. I mean, people could call in if you're on
That's,
Zoom.
no, a public hearing is, at this point, since we're outside of the emergency declaration by the governor has expired. Zoom is no longer available as a public hearing.
Really?
Yeah, I think they have to be here. If
Oh,
it's a
yeah?
public hearing, they have to be here on their own.
Oh, wow,
So,
okay.
if we wanted to Zoom, I think that the chair would have the discretion to say yes or no whether those people can participate.
Yes, exactly. No,
Whereas
she
if
did.
they're here in a public hearing, they would,
Yeah.
there is no discretion. You have to,
Yeah,
you have to
okay.
hear them
All
unless they start repeating the same things that
All right.
others have
But
said.
anyway, she'll be here.
Okay, we'll have to figure out when we're gonna do that meeting.
Yeah, let me know and I'll follow up, but in the meanwhile, I'll get that urban renewal plan thing going.
All right, next up on the agenda is that we need to do a site visit to Wade Street.
Oh, yeah.
We need to see that they've done what they said they were supposed to do.
Tobin, I guess his name is, coming to move it, you said?
Yeah, so, does anybody have
I don't have my calendar with me. But-
is there a general time that's good for anybody or everybody?
Yeah, morning.
What about you, Pat? Is there any time that's not good for you?
Mornings are usually okay.
Mornings are okay?
Yeah.
And I'll have
It
to,
might be okay with Roger, too.
send something out to Roger and see. And maybe we can figure out
A date.
a date where we can go over. It shouldn't take too long.
Yeah.
We just have to make sure that the thing is moved and that everything that was cleaned up. And what we're gonna do, maybe tentatively write down August 16th.
Okay. What day of the week is that?
That's a Wednesday.
Okay.
Because that will be, there's a conservation meeting tomorrow night, and then our next one will be on the 16th, and we have site visits on the morning of our Concom meeting.
Oh, okay.
And I think the Concom members who've already been out there before should go out there again,
I would, yeah. I think
because,
you're right.
We're gonna take, the Concom is going to
accept
take,
it.
take ownership of it.
Right.
So, that would be at 10 o'clock on the 16th of
10
August.
o'clock?
10 o'clock AM,
Is
16th of
that,
August.
is that, if you have 5 of them and you start at 10, you might not arrive until 11:15. Is that the same scheme? I'm using that as
No,
an
we'll,
example.
if there are other people involved outside of our group, we can make Wade Street the first one we do.
Okay, great.
So
Okay.
everyone's there at the same time.
Okay, fine.
All right?
Kathleen said she would have to check, but she was pretty sure that she created the title already.
Okay. Very good. Topics not anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance. I don't have anything.
Well, what I wanted, we already did.
Okay,
So
good. Well, that was on.
I'm good to
that's
go
been
on
here.
that one.
Member notes. Does anybody have anything they want to add or say about?
I spoke to Tom Bott about both myself and Roger going on that Serpent.
Oh, yes,
the
right,
land.
okay.
And Tom said that he had to make an appearance to the select board asking for 2 volunteers, and he had to make an appearance to Concom.
He's already done that with Concom,
Was that, how many was he
2.
looking for? 2.
too,
And he's already have his 2?
from
Excellent.
Concom.
Yeah, okay, good. So he's all set, and he said that once all that was taken care of, he's gonna rally the troops, and we would get together, and he thought it would happen sometime in August.
Right. It was supposed to be in July. Just so people know what that is, SERPED, Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development, every few years, they go into towns and they look at a map of the entire town and they identify areas of town that are designated for growth and other areas of town that are designated for protection, wildlife, natural habitat, et cetera. They last did this, I think, 7 or 8 years ago. And it's time to relook at the map, and Tom is trying to put together a group of people from different committees to help SERPED determine what changes, if any, have to be made to the map.
Yeah, Tom said, when I spoke to him, he said they'll come in with what they have, what they know, and that's where we take off from where we're gonna go from.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and it could be at the end of the day that everything stays exactly the way it is, but
Who knows?
it's,
Who knows?
that's what Tom is looking to
Yeah.
do, get a wide breadth of people to sit on that board and help out. I did not read the minutes.
I
6:20.
didn't either, so can we hold them
We
till
can
the next
table that?
meeting? Yeah, please.
All right, we need a motion.
I move that we table the minutes for June 2023 to the next meeting for approval.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table the reading of the approval of the minutes of 6:20 until our next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Approved 3-0. All right, next up is when our next meeting is going to be. Now, calendar.
You tell me. It'll be,
The first Tuesday in September is the day after Labor Day. It's the 5th.
Yep.
Is everyone available to do it then?
I don't have my calendar, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, but should this be like in
Back on,
coordination with Route 44?
Bob said he'll be here whenever we need him.
Okay,
I told him it'll be our next meeting, and I said either the end of August or early September.
okay, good.
And,
Yeah, it
I
seems
think
to be
they're close anyway in having the definitive plan ready.
so what's that date again, please?
September 5th at 6:30,
Yep,
all right? I'm the one, excuse me, I'm the one who should write that down.
yeah. See,
9/5 at 6:30. So I will notify Bob Delhomme about that. Joanna, you'll tell Kathleen?
I'll call Kathleen, and if there's an issue, because she's gone, because remember, that's a long Labor Day weekend.
Right, yeah, please do that as soon as possible.
I will, I'll call tomorrow. and
My
find out.
preference is if we can't do it on the 5th,
Okay, what would the alternate?
to do it the August 29th, because I am not available on the 12th of September. And I don't want it to go any further past that, especially if,
What is that day of the week, the 29th?
that's a Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 29th of August would be the alternative. Does that work for you as well,
Yeah,
if we have to? So find out from Kathleen. She would be the only person who would force a change
Yep.
in date,
Right.
all right? And we can,
Sorry, that was
we can let,
8/29?
August 29th
is the alternate date
The alternate date.
at 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
So, yeah, if we can get that and just let us know
Yep. Yep.
from her. Anything else from anybody? No? All right, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I move, so,
well,
Pat got the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're out. Thank you very much, Area 58.